Okay, so far we essentially always looked at the demand curve for an individual. And different individuals obviously have different demand functions at every point of time. So for example, if you imagine that, students get up in the morning, they come to class, then maybe some students, they already had breakfast at home, they are not super hungry. So if they are offered a coffee, their willingness to pay is probably much lower than somebody who didn't have a coffee and is craving coffee. And these things always change. But at every moment of time, we can think of a market with, individuals having a different demand function. And then in order to get from individual demand functions to a market demand functions, what we need to do is we need to aggregate them horizontally. So here we see three individual demand functions. The individuals are A, B, and C. And we see that A has a pretty high willingness to pay for a small amount. So between the price of 15 and 10, only individual A would be willing to demand up to or demand a quantity of up to 1. And in the price range between 15 and 10, only individual A would demand anything. So in this case, the market demand function is equivalent to individual A. So if we just draw this here, okay, so then between 15 and 10, and then I just can put that to the market demand function. And between a price of 15 and 10, it's only A. Okay, so now at the price range between 10 and 5, we have now A and B demanding, but not C. C only starts wanting to have the good if the price is 5 or lower. So now what we do next is we take a look at the price of 5. And we know at the price of 5, individual A demands a quantity of 2. And at the price of 5, individual B also demands a quantity of 2. So that means at the price of 5, total quantity demanded must be 4. So here, that green segment of the market demand function is only made up of consumer A and B. Well, and if the price were 5 or lower, we would have all three individuals demanding the good. So we would have A. So now we would go to a price of 0, and in a price of 0, the quantity demanded there is called the saturation point. So, but at a price of 0 or slightly above, individual A would still demand 3, individual B 4, so 3 plus 4, that's 7, and individual C 5, so that's a total of 12. So that means in this case, the blue segment of the market demand function or the aggregate demand function has added up horizontally the quantities demanded of A, B, and C. So the key to developing a market demand function is essentially to aggregate horizontally individual demand functions. Okay, so that's pretty much it for an introduction to demand. So now we know the law of demand, and we know the determinants of shifts in demand. We know the difference between quantity demanded and demand. And we now also know how we get from individual demand functions to a market demand function. And in the next video, we will start with supply.